starting at the top, the NFL game of the week is once again another Monday night showdown. Thursday nights, they suck, but the Monday night showdowns, it seems like every single week for our month now into the NFL season, have all been heaters. The Detroit Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks, where the Detroit Lions ended up coming out on top, as we always do, looking at the winners first. The Lions takeaways. Drew, what do you see from this team? A team that has finally, their offense has finally shown up to this point. What do you see from them? What do you like from them from this past week?
This was just, we want to be entertained at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about these fourth quarter flurries either. I want to be entertained throughout the game.
Yep.
You know, there was games this week. You look at the Packers, they almost made a flurry in the fourth quarter and came back. Last week the Cowboys made a flurry in the fourth quarter. We don't care about that stuff. We don't want a team to get blown out for three quarters. We want to be entertained. And if you look at this game, realistically, it all changed very, very early with a DK Metcalf fumble and the Lions score off of that fumble. If you take that away, they basically went score for score, touchdown for touchdown, pass for pass. Well, not really pass for pass because Jared Goff could not miss, but it was a very exciting game, very entertaining to watch. Obviously, that's why it's the game of the week. And it definitely had a strong impact on our power rankings that we'll talk about later because the Lions, they went out there. The caveat here is obviously going to be who Seattle has played so far, but Seattle's defense was fantastic to start the season. Yeah. They shut down all the lower ranked teams that they played. They got a new head coach out there that's done a really good job with that defense. And super the Lions, I don't know if you knew this, but Jared Goff did not have an incompletion. Matter of fact, Jared Goff on Monday Night Football had more touchdown receptions than he did incompletions. And that's
absolutely
a fact.
Yep. Yeah, it was really nice to see the Lions offense explode this week. Perfect on the night, 18 for 18, 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, stat line did not end there, taking a touchdown catch as well, which was pretty fun to see. Anytime a quarterback does anything else besides throw the ball, if he can make a reception, always fun to see. I also want to kind of highlight that
was the slowest passing touchdown in the history. Amon-Ra was just like, he threw this floater up there, and I felt like Jared Goff on that play, he ran like an 8.74 40 to get into the end zone, and it just majestically flew through the air, and then Goff is just hell of a play call.
It's like Amon-Ra was really thinking about it, and he's like, please don't overthrow him. He's open. And it's like he was overthinking the process the entire time.
I'm sure in real life it was like half a second, but it felt like he was just staring, like, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Something that was a really big positive for the Lions is the lack of turnovers this week, with Goff having to throw an interception in each of the prior games. Him not having one this game is obviously massive. And the prior turnovers that Goff actually did have, we saw them. They're bad turnovers. There's a lot, honestly, besides this past week, weeks 1 through 3, there was a lot of questions on Jared Goff and his performances and how well he's looked or how bad he's looked to really start the season. And, Goff ends up getting a lot of hate throughout the entire NFL season and past couple of seasons. I feel like he doesn't really get the love that he deserves. But to start the season, those first three weeks, he really struggled. So he was kind of deserving a lot of the side eyeing of him. But again, kind of at least turns it down a little bit. Goes 18 for 18, looks fantastic. Jahmyr Gibbs recording 2 touchdown runs as the leading rusher, but I think everyone wanted to talk about David Montgomery on the 40-yard reception, absolutely blowing up Devon Witherspoon. I swear I've seen that highlight like 3 or 4 times already, and everyone reacting to it. As soon as it happens, they pause the video and they get up. They're like, God damn, oh, no, holy shit. So looked incredible, obviously, throughout the night. Again, the offense exploding for the Lions is the biggest thing here. Now, the question is if they can continue it. And this is against a Seattle Seahawks team that had 5 of their key defenders out for the night. So how much do you attribute that to the Lions exploding? And how much do you contribute that to the Seattle Seahawks having a lot of really key defenders out? So kind of push and pull there. When you're looking on the other side of it, on the Seahawks side, what do you look at on their side? What went wrong? What looks good still, with really them playing their first contender of the entire season?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we had questions about Seattle coming into this. We talked about off air about power rankings and if Seattle was justified into coming into the top 10. They got some really weird stat lines right now. I think they're first in passing yards per game, which is
Yeah,
super weird for a Geno Smith led offense. He's been fantastic.
balling.
Kenneth Walker comes back and has just a massive game for a guy coming off an injury. And
Yep.
even the aforementioned poor Witherspoon, he has been fantastic. I don't know why this has always got to happen when you've been fantastic. But the defense with the injuries, Jared Goff not only was he perfect overall on the night, he was 6 for 6 against pressure. They could not affect anything he was doing. And the thing about the Seattle Seahawks we talked about in the offseason is we talked about this is a team that has a quarterback that can't beat the 49ers, their biggest division rival. And it's when you're in a place where your quarterback can't get you over the hump, it's hard to know if you should move forward with that quarterback. Well, they've come out and they've played really well. And if you look at the stat line, or if you look at the final score, 42-29, it really doesn't show you, again, how close this game was. Like I said,
Absolutely.
DK Metcalf has a huge fumble that kind of changed. Not that I'm putting on DK. DK is a hell of a player. And then that passing touchdown by Amon-Ra to Jared Goff, it just goes to show you these trick plays and how volatile they can be. Because if you go back to the Sunday Night Football game, if you look at the Ravens versus the Bills, it looks like a blowout on paper. But what you don't see is the Bills had scored and they were going down the field. They were dicing up the Ravens and they were going to go down. And I think they were going to make it. They were going to pull within 3 points or whatever at the time. And they ran this awful trick play, absolutely awful trick play. And Josh Allen, who is a big boy. Josh Allen is a big boy. He got freaking tossed. Like he was, he looked like, who's that little running back on your guys' team? Deuce Vaughn, is that his name?
Vaughn, yep.
He looked like Deuce Vaughn out there. He just got boom. I'm just like, holy shit. And then the game turned around after that. The Ravens went along to stomp them. These trick plays, they're so 50-50. When you hit them, it just feels like the air is sucked out of the arena when you hit a trick play like that. That's why, chicks dig the long ball and all that stuff. You throw up one of those huge passes, and Jameson Williams, that play that he made, who, just so you know, Jameson Williams is younger than both Xavier Legette, who was he a second round pick or did he sneak into the first round? He was second round, right?
First pick of the second round.
And he's younger than Ricky Pearsall, who was the 49ers first round pick. This is a young player who's finally healthy, coming into his prime. Jared Goff is hitting him on these crossers. Amon-Ra does what he does. Sam Laporta, who was the best tight end in football last year, hasn't done anything this year, which is scary for teams playing the Lions because he hasn't even stepped up. And they got this two-headed monster at running back. And frankly, the only thing that we could ever say bad about Jared Goff is he's a little slow. He doesn't move well in the pocket. But if you're going to go 6 for 6 against pressure, it doesn't matter. That last night was a Super Bowl winning performance. That type of play is a Super Bowl winning performance. Now, I know they don't think they're getting back there based off of comments from their head coach, but you got an offensive coordinator who's a future head coach in this league. You got Dan Campbell, who's killing it. You got the front runner for defensive player of the year, maybe, in Aiden Hutchinson.
Absolutely.
And you just have an incredible offense right now. So realistically, the Lions are jumped out to a good run. And I know you asked me about the Seahawks here. They got the New York Giants next week, which, let's be honest, should pick up a dub. But then they go San Francisco, Atlanta, Buffalo, the Rams, San Francisco. So that's if you're picking those teams, maybe 1 or 2 wins in their next 5. So if they come out of that 3-2, if they come out of that 4-1, if they split the series with the 49ers and pick up wins against the Rams, Buffalo, and Atlanta, I'll change my tune. But they're exciting right now. The schedule's been a little soft. I'm not counting you out, Seahawks fans. I'm not hating just because I'm a Niners fan. I'm just saying you finally played a good team and you took an L. So this isn't college football, we don't get style points here. An L is an L. So we just got to see it, come out and smack the Giants next week. And then you go into a big Thursday night football game against the 49ers.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be huge looking forward to the coming of weeks for those 5 key defensive players to really come back. And additionally, another play that went out, Jordan Love, right in the middle of it. Or Julian Love, excuse me, going out in the middle of the game as well. So wrong team. So that's going to be huge looking forward. Detroit put up 6 touchdowns in a span of 8 possessions. So defense really not looking fantastic there. But Geno Smith setting new career highs in passing yards, 395, and completions in 38, and then attempts in 56. Geno Smith has been fantastic all season. His advanced statistics makes him look like a very, very, very good quarterback. He's really been putting the team on his back, especially with the defense. I mean, they've looked fine, but looked fine against teams that aren't very good. You go against the Denver Broncos, and I'm not very impressed at that point. But, again, like you said, looking at the final score doesn't really tell the whole story. Overall, the Seahawks put up a decent performance with having so many guys out, and then Geno trying to do as much as he can. Seattle had 516 yards of total offense, which is the 12th most in a single game in their team history. DK Metcalf, you already mentioned, but he became the first receiver in team history to have 3 consecutive 100-yard receiving games, 7 catches for 104 yards against them as well. So, and then that's, struggling on defense on both sides of the ball, because the Lions had their fair share on struggles. Carlton Davis was flagged 3 times, their corner, 2 which kept the drive alive and it led to Seattle Seahawks touchdowns. Terrion Arnold, their rookie, which we both love, 3 more defensive penalties on that side, 1 leading directly to a touchdown on the next play. And then Kenneth Walker, you already mentioned, had a monster half against the Lions are supposed to be known for a pretty good run defense, but having a pretty good game, 80-yard outing, 3 touchdowns. So he went for the hat trick on that one. So both sides looking at the defenses a little bit side-eyeing, one having some key guys out, the other one struggling performances from the cornerback position, which we already knew that the Lions were going to have some issues with the corner position moving into the season, and it looks like that is definitely going to persist because 2 rookies are not going to solve all the issues, a la the Philadelphia Eagles as well. So Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw for them, not going to solve all the issues, at least in year 1, even though there is really good flashes of Terrion Arnold. More on him a little bit later, talking about some of those rookies.
Yeah, Geno, he leads the league in passing yards right now. He's got 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. I think some of that's been covered up by the fact that they've been winning. The one thing that I do question just maybe a little bit, a tad with him, not that I'm predicting him to fall back to earth or anything, but he's got like 40 more or 50 more pass attempts than the guy who's number 2 in yards, and he's only in front of him by like 50 yards. Yeah. So he's got 50 more pass attempts. So it's stats based out of volume.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch. I wonder if maybe the Seahawks need to dial it back just a tad and realize like, hey, listen, quarterbacks generally, he's had a resurgence,
Yeah.
but quarterbacks generally don't turn into all pros after 7, 8, 9 years in the league. So I'd really like them to find more of a balance, rely on their defense, and try to do what they have to do. If Geno's going to,
they do that.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to end the season with 20, 24 interceptions, the winning streaks are not going to continue. So he needs to dial back the turnovers a little bit.
Totally agree.